welcome Yite to LMsys. This is a long time coming, but I'm so excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting, and excited to be here to chat about a lot of stuff. Yeah.
So you're interesting to research and introduce. You are now chief scientist of Reka, which is a super interesting model lab. But before that, you were at Google Brain. You were architecture co-lead on Palm 2. You were inventor of UL2. You're core contributor on Flan. You're a member of the BART core team, and you also did some work on generative retrieval. That's a very, very illustrious 3-year career at Google Brain.
Yeah, thanks, yeah.
And then since then, Reka, you joined in March 2023, announced a $58 million Series A in June 2023. I don't know if you know the post-money valuation or the pre-money valuation is public. So it's Crunchbase is
okay.
250
I did not know that.
something million. So you don't even have to leak. It's on the internet.
Okay.
In February, so the Reka's stated goals were to work on universal intelligence, including general-purpose multimodal and multilingual agents, self-improving AI, and model efficiency. In February, you released Reka Flash. In April, you released Reka Core and Edge, and then most recently, you released Vibe Eval.
Yep.
Is that a good summary of the last 6 years? We can go deeper into like the specific papers.
6. No, it's not 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay.
We're talking about AI.
Yeah, I was like wondering, like, since when did I like step into a time machine or something?
Yeah. Okay. So can we just talk about like your transition into you did your PhD, and we can talk about your PhD. Transition into brain and research and all that. I saw you do some work on recommender systems. I saw you do some work on quaternions. What the fuck was that?
Okay, let's forget about that.
Describe your path into modern LLMs, right? Because you didn't start there.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I think the world also didn't start there, right? I mean, I think so I joined Google in 2019, end of 2019, and the world looked like really different at that time, right? And I think that was around the time the first GPT was released by GPT-1 or something was released by OpenAI. So research like ML research and NLP research looked very different at that time. So I was mostly I identify as like a language researcher. I don't like to use the word NLP. Jason will kill me if I use the word NLP. But I was like, okay, a language researcher. But I was more like a model architecture kind of researcher. And when I joined Google, I was also I continued on this as a model architecture research. I worked a lot on like efficient transformers.
That was your first viral paper.
Yeah, and I worked like long range arena. I spent quite a lot of time looking of like could we do without attention. Like there was a synthesizer paper back in 2020. I think that was like my early days in Google. There wasn't at that point of time like transformer research was mainly like WMT, like machine translation and like perplexity and stuff like that. It's not really about that there wasn't like I think
reasoning.
few short learning and few short in context learning came only about like when GPT-3 came out and beyond, right? And then so I think that at that time the meta, I would say the meta looked really different, and at that time a lot of the work was focused on like fine-tuning things like T5 or BERT or something like that, right? So I think a lot of the research, not only myself, but like around me or like even the broader community were working on those kind of things. And I think so I think that was, which I feel that in hindsight today is actually pretty useful to like kind of think about, because a lot of people came into like AI and into like right after like ChatGPT came out, right? So they saw AI as like kind of like I think there's a lot of benefits of understanding how transformers and like if you I've broken this thing apart like so many times trying to it's like these things actually help to improve intuition, and I think like it's not like totally disconnect. Like I think a lot of things are still relevant today, and it's just the scale has gotten much larger, and also like the paradigms shift a little bit from like single task fine-tuning to like generalists do everything kind of universal foundation models, right? I think it's just a slight change in paradigm, but fundamentally I don't think like the stuff has actually like the underlying principles of research hasn't really changed that much except for like compute. The
compute data.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, algorithms stayed put, and then compute and data scaled.
So I have some thoughts about this, right? So I think like back then, like a lot of the academic research, I think people have talked about this, like Sasha Raj has talked about this, or like other people have talked about this. It's like the conferences were always organized by like applications, right? They were always organized by like question answering, this kind of thing. And even in 2019,
Wisdom, which you
like,
did some papers.
Like it was always by this, right? I think there's like a bit of a transpose going on. Things become universal and then becoming like okay, there's a data work stream, there's a model architecture work stream, and then people work on improving like a universal model and general purpose algorithms to improve this model rather than finding domain specific tricks. I think this has, I think for even in 2019, I think I've already been like focusing on like works that are like you could improve one general architecture. At that time, it was like maybe LSTMs in 2017 or something, and then you would try on like 10 different tasks and the kind of thing, right? But like a lot of the research community have been focused more on like, like how do I get that extra 2% on question answering or sentiment analysis. I think that there was this phase of like in 2017, 2018 where this type of work was like still very fashionable in academia and in conferences, right? And then I think the big thing about the ChatGPT moment of like 2022, the thing that changed drastically is like it completely like it was like this sharp like make all this work like kind of like obsolete
so November 2022 you're saying?
I mean the ChatGPT.
Exactly, ChatGPT launched, because I feel like if you're in the research community, this was coming.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that like in like the big labs and stuff people have already been moving towards general. Like even T5 was already like general purpose. Yeah. And the thing, right? But like there's a bit of a time lag to places like Google and Meta, OpenAI, we will be working on things like 3 years ahead of everybody else, and then suddenly then academia would be like still working on like these task specific things.
Got it.
And then I think the forcing function was the ChatGPT moment actually really it was coming. It was just like the final the last straw, and then it's finally like
now it's serious.
Now it's really the thing completely changed. But so I think that was I don't know how it turned from my background to like
it's okay.
talking about the meta.
I think that you navigate the meta very well, and part of my goal here is to also isolate how you think about the meta for other people to reflect on, because I think obviously you do it very well.
Thanks.
It's somewhere around. So I'm looking at your papers published. Somewhere around 2021, you had a hard cut to Yolo 2 and Palm, and you did Yolo 2, Palm, emergent abilities, DSI, recitation, augmented generation, all in the same year-ish. So like did you change teams? Did you like have a research focus? Like when did you become?
Oh, so you're saying that like my research became emergent, right? That's emergent.
It was like it's very obvious.
No, I don't think I don't think I'm like a person that like I'm not like super great at like forcing a trend like 2 years ahead and then especially like plan for that, right?
Yeah.
I think I smoothly and as like kind of like as
okay,
the few moves
to you
like it is if it didn't feel like I never actually had a time where I said I'm going to pivot myself into like this I never actually really thought about this way. I just did like at every step I just like optimized for like what I found to be most impactful and most promising, and then that gradually, and also it's also a lot of influence by talking to people, right? I think at that time I started working more with, I had some close collaborations with Jason and other people. Like I mean, Google is you can work with anybody you want basically. So you're kind of like also like partly it's like the environment shift, and I think the environment shifts like very quickly. But like I was also always very like I was always like polling for like in the environment. Like, I was not like I think it's always good to like have an open mind and then move along with the field rather than like, okay, this is my research area, I'm going to get stuck with it 2 years. I think I just move along to find like things that interest me, and naturally I think like that turned out to be like the things that were most impactful at that time. I mean, I think I mean if you put it that way, it's like, okay, I kind of in retrospect I kind of did well, but like I never actually really like saw it as like intentional.
Sure.
I didn't like do anything like really intentional except as like doing what I find like interesting actually. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll just talk about the main work at Google Brain, and then we'll move to Reka. So out of Yolo 2, Palm, Emergent Abilities, which of these came first? There's Flan as well.
Actually,
Flan was 2023.
I can't really actually remember.
Okay. Well, we'll make it talk about Yolo 2 then.
Okay. So Yolo 2 and DSI, the differentiable search index, I was working on it like in the December of 2021, and so like at Google there were like projects that are like big efforts that are like like a researcher will be like part of the effort, and then this would be kind of top down ish to some extent, right? And then there were also like bottom up like research that one could do. Like I can't speak for the Google now for sure, but like at least at that time, right? So Yolo 2 and DSI, differentiable search index, were like works that I kind of tinkered with in the December break where like nobody was around.
Okay.
And then I was just like working around on it. So Yolo 2 and DSI were like kind of Palm, like Palm also there's this kind of differentiation because there's Palm 1 and there's Palm 2, right? So Palm 2 I was actually like the co-lead of one of the work streams, but like Palm 1 I was more of a contributor, and Palm 2 I was like so they were like, now I have to think back of like, okay, what's the timeline, which came first, right?
Oh yeah. Well, you don't have to.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's not like a.
But I mean, in general, they were like kind of three categories of works. One is like broader efforts that are like maybe like org level efforts, and then there are some that like Yolo 2 and DSI were like my own
projects.
Like projects, I used the compute that I had, and then I just played with it.
You accidentally left Yolo 2 running for a month.
Yeah. That was in the paper. Yeah, it was fun. I think it was really fun. I think. And then there was also like a third category where those were like the efforts that my good friends were driving and I contributed. So Flan was just one of the. I know like maybe I would like to just maybe say this publicly. Like a lot of people like because
you're very publicly.
I talk a lot about Flan.
You're Flan show number one.
But like the first author is actually Hyung Wan, who is great, and then like another guy Le. I was a core contributor, but I mean, I just because I'm a little bit more visible, so I kind of accidentally like took a little bit more credit for that. But I think like I was a core contributor, but I was not like
the lead authors are obvious.
Yeah, yeah. So I just sometimes I get like accidentally, but I think in general so the third categories was like projects that my friends like Emergence was also like Emergent Abilities. No, actually it was the paper was actually supposed to be only me and Jason on the paper actually, and I actually became friends with Jason from that paper, and then that led to like this streak of like I don't know 10 papers or something together with Jason, and now we're like super good friends.
The ultimate bromance.
But that was like the Emergent paper, but the Emergent paper was also like belonged to be like a bottom up kind of like a thing, and yeah, I think fun times. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So maybe I'll pick on Palm 2. Because I feel like I'll pick on Palm 2 and Emergence because I really want to make sure I tell those stories. Those are important stories. Palm 2, I think it's a career story that you effectively became a co-lead on the second version of a very high-profile company-wide effort. How did that happen? I think people would like to know how to what's like the sort of career strategy there.
So like. To be clear, like I was one of the co-leads, but there were a lot of co-leads. So I don't want to take like too much credit for that. But like I think my involvement with Palm 2 came from the like after Yolo 2 was working well, and then it was gaining some visibility within Google, and then
just a documentary note. Was Yolo 2 the largest model that Google had released at the time?
20B, the public source, yeah, I think so. That was the largest.
And it was a personal project.
It was a personal project, yeah.
Isn't that unusual? Like, I'm just like, how can it be like one person's decision to like suddenly release something that effectively changed the trajectory of Google Brain?
How it worked was that, I mean, 20B is not that much larger from 11B, the 11B T5. Actually, at that time there was 13B MT5, right? So I think Yolo 2 is an encoder decoder 20B model. I think when we got it approved, it was like kind of it was released as like kind of like the big brother of T5, you know, kind of like okay, we updated T5 with like a new objective and train this new model and 20B, and we want to, and it uses the same like pre-training data set and everything, right? So like from
pure C4.
Yeah, that was the easiest because there was precedence, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It was like okay,
but yeah, like, there was some architecture, like the mixture of denoisers.
So back to Palm 2, I think my involvement with Palm 2 came from the work to add UL2 to Palm 2, and then like I mean it was from the top-down point of view. I mean the leads were decided in a top-down manner. It's not like what there was not much like fighting or any major things, right? It was like it was a mixture of like bottom-up, top-down-ish, like half situation, and then like from the top it was like okay, these are the people who are the most visible in contributing to this work stream, and then okay, how about E and this other guy becomes like will be in charge of this like modeling work stream and something like that, right? So I think it was this, it just happened that way, like organically, and yeah, I think that was how I kind of was co-leading the modeling work stream of Palm 2. Yeah,
I think in retrospect, you understand now that this is a very valuable experience, and I think now today it will be much more competitive to get the job that you got, whereas you didn't, 2 years ago you didn't have to try that hard to get it, or like you kind of lucked into it with UL2, and then like it just compounded from that initial good decision. Do you think that? Do you agree with that, or?
I think it's very hard to like counterfactually analyze this type of things. It's hard to say. Like okay, I think it's definitely true that there are more people like working on generative AI now, and if you are in a big company, it's way harder to navigate like this type of things, right? I wouldn't say that there were like nobody also like wanting to work on this like at that time. In fact, there were like actually.
Well, you were the obvious choice.
There were less people. There were definitely less people, but I think it was also like how do I put it? Like it's I would say that maybe it's slightly harder now, but like it's also not like it was easy at the time.
Okay. Yeah. I imagine it's sensitive, but also like in my mind, this is now the most valuable on-the-job training in the world, and so people want to know how to get it. This is what I'm trying to figure out.
It might not be. It may not. I just agree that like actually, individually like we also cannot take like somebody else like experience and then try to replicate it on, because everybody's like circumstances, their initialization point, their thing is kind of also like in different.
Yeah.
In different. I think this is not only true for LLMs in general, right? Because a lot of times like oh okay, you did this in this position, and then because of this, it's very hard to trace all this down to like to find the causal path for things. So yeah, I think everything in life there's some luck involved.
Yeah, there is. Emergent abilities.
Yep.
Very influential paper. Subsequently contested by the Mirage paper.
Oh yeah.
So before we get to the Mirage, was there a story behind emergent abilities? Yeah, I'm sure it's Jason's like thesis, or like just tell more about like the behind the scenes. Like was there a discussion that led to it that
Okay, I have to like really be like this one was like this, the idea, the inception of it was like mostly Jason.
Okay.
Right. I think like I helped out to like shape up a little bit of the paper, get some stakeholders involved and stuff. I was like discussing quite a bit with Jason, but the idea itself was like Jason itself. So actually when the Mirage thing and everything came out, like I didn't like, okay, I was just like hot takes for the sake of hot takes. I didn't like feel, but I believe in emergence. Like I have to just like go on the record and just say like, I mean I believe in emergence, and then like, but like I was not like feeling very strongly, because I think that like I can't speak for Jason, but I would just imagine that he would be maybe personally offended because I know Jason is a person that takes a lot of like feedback like very well. He's a very like he's not offended by harsh feedback, and he rebuts well like online as well, right?
Yeah,
but he like I would just imagine he would be the one that is the most like actually the most affected by criticisms of emergence. I was like believing in it, but I have to say that paper. I mean, that's why he's the first author and I'm second. But like that was mostly Jason's thesis, and I have to really say that Jason has really good ideas, and I was more of like a support role for that paper. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Lots more to discuss there, but you believe in emergence. That's enough for me to work with.
No,
okay.
I also think that the Mirage paper is mostly like I don't know who actually I don't even remember who wrote it. Like
Rylan Schaefer. Yeah, I covered him on my Neurips podcast.
Okay.
He's a very good speaker, and the paper was well done. It's just that people drew the wrong conclusions from the paper because he had a very good title.
Do you believe in emergence?
Of course.
Okay. High five.
I mean, how can you read any paper, read the progress of LLMs and not believe in emergence? It's so stupid. Like, just because you can reparameterize some benchmarks and evals and make it linear, doesn't mean like emergence is completely gone. And even in the Mirage paper, they acknowledged that there were some metrics that were true, genuine emergence according to them. I think it was something like 25-ish% in the ballpark. That's not the exact number.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine. Like some benchmarks you disagree with, but on the whole, there is emergence. It's just now we're just talking about the magnitude.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think like the authors of the paper had really like very like they did. I mean, nobody. We should just assume people don't have bad intentions, right? But like,
no,
they definitely were just doing this. But like I think
media.
I was more like annoyed by like the Neurips best paper. I mean, okay, best paper was just take with a grain of salt,
yes.
right? But like there were people come at me like, oh, you should care about this paper because it's the Neurips best paper.
It's been disproved.
Like because it's like they were like, okay, because it's the Neurips best paper. I'm like, does best paper awards like mean anything? Actually, it doesn't mean anything, right? Like, but like I think that was more of like my like where my angst was coming from. Right? I don't think like I really had. I don't even remember who were the authors of that paper, right?
I'm sure they're doing well for themselves, and it's we don't have to dwell too much on that.
Okay.
Okay, so a couple more things from Google, and then we can go to Reka. Kwok Le was a manager.
Yeah.
What is?
I had another manager called like Don. Like I had two managers during my time.
So I'm just basically going to ask for quick hits from like, what did you learn from Kwok? What did you learn from Jason? What did you learn from Hyungwon?
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, your mental embeddings of like who they are, who they represent to you, like how they advise you and all that.
So Kwok as a manager, he was more like a friend than, and we will like talk a lot about research. I think Kwok is a very researchy person. He has a lot of like good, he's more of like intuition person. I learned a lot about like from him about like it's not very explicit or like it's not like exactly like there was no like concrete, like it was more like over time and it was very implicit soft kind of feeling. But I think like a lot of research science, we will like brainstorm a lot about like I quite like that, when there was this UPalm paper that didn't like get much as much attention that I feel it deserves, but like I think that was one of the works that I kind of like discussed with Kwok quite a bit, and like and that time we were releasing the Flan 2 stuff and everything, and then like I think Kwok has a lot of good sense about like what makes a work a good hit, and like publicly a good hit, and like a lot of research sense about like what makes like research like cool, So I think he has good like intuition as a researcher, and I learned quite a little bit about. And I also say that I think Jason also probably learned like quite a bit from Kwok, and this also influenced his taste. So I would guess like more of like it was not only just like me getting influenced, but like there was like Jason getting influenced, and then Jason influenced me, and then there was this like. So I think overall what I learned from Kwok probably is more of like intuition, research, taste. We would like chat about AGI sometimes, singularity and stuff like this. Like it was like I learned like quite like he's nice to talk to as a friend, manager, kind of like he's like kind of a friend figure to me, and researcher. He's very much a researcher more than like a corporate manager kind of. thing.
Yeah, I totally expect that.
It was fun. It was fun.
Since you mentioned AGI, we actually don't cover AGI on this podcast, mostly because it's very hard to be precise or make falsifiable claims. Do you perceive differences in the way that AI researchers discuss AGI compared to the regular population?
So I don't think that we were making any progress in quantifying it. Like,
okay, I can skip that question.
There was a lot of like this fun chatter around it, but it was not exactly like
Jason Wei, what do you find? What do you learn from him? What is your distillation of the Jason?
Jason is very interesting. So, I learned like in my career, I learned like 2 or 3 things, major things from Jason, right? So I think the first thing I learned from him is that like, so Jason was actually, okay, I'm going to talk about the more casual, more fun stuff first. Jason was the more more spicy on Twitter first before me. There was an era where I was like a goody 2 shoes. I only had my main account. I would only tweet, like my only tweets would be like new paper alert, right? And then Jason was starting to post like hot takes, right? Yeah. And I just thought to myself, oh damn, and there were times that I was like, Jason, you should not post this. You're gonna get cancelled, right? And he was fine. He always braved through the storm and everything. Until I looked at him and I'm like, okay, like, maybe it's not that bad after all. To just be
People love it,
right?
Yeah.
So that was like kind of like which is very interesting because Jason is much younger than me, and I saw this. And the thing also, our accounts, right? We created them around the same time, right? And the interesting story behind it was that like, so Jason's odd account and my account has our own our original identity. Like it was not like an anime character out that nobody know who is it. We have our identity.
It's pseudonymous.
It's pseudonymous, right? And then I asked Jason like, why do you want to like have a pseudo, like why don't you just make like, right? And he told me this thing which was quite true, was that like, if you cannot, like, okay, you can post a take that is spicy and it's hot, but if you cannot stand by the opinion, then you should not have that opinion in the first place, right?
Wow.
Right. So that was something that, I thought that was profound, because so far there are times where, okay, I post something and it's spicy, and then, okay, it gets a little bit bad, and then I kind of agree that, okay, this is bad, then I will retract it. But if I could stand by the opinion, then I would just stand by it, because, like, that's the point of making it, like
it should be said.
Right, it should be said, because I can put my name behind it, right? So that was this is part of the first bucket about how like kind of influence like my online persona like a little bit, like, and then I mean, and then it turns out that like now AGI Hippo is so much more spicy than the koala. Koala is just hibernating somewhere. It's not even around, right? So I think that was something that I mean, Jason also is more constrained because he works for like he has like an actual like employer,
OpenAI,
right?
Yeah.
And he has to be a little bit
My
more.
God, the worst thing about Twitter is that, you know, anytime anyone from OpenAI tweets anything, they're like, "Did you see this researcher from OpenAI said something?" Blah blah blah. And they read tea leaves that are not there, and it makes you very cautious to tweet anything, and so it kills the golden goose, is what I say. Right?
There was one tweet, I mean, that at the time when people were speculating the GPT-2 chatbots, right? And then Jason posted something like on his main account, like something like, I'm like excited about like new experiments being run, like just like a random like just, and then people like screenshot that and like post like
I hate that. Yeah.
So I think I think like for his odd account, it's mostly like personal stuff, like, you know, like very I think he would stay away from like
non-work things,
like a non-work thing. So
the golden goose has been killed because people on Twitter cannot control themselves from like drawing random conclusions from, you know, all these like hints and all that. Like
yeah.
It's
okay, but like going to like the actual, like this is like filler. This is filler.
It's okay.
It's not canon. It's filler, right? I think the second thing I learned from Jason is more about like as from my you know, kind of like from my own career, is like the importance of like marketing and PR. So Jason is actually like super good at like, I mean, I would just like, he was actually like really, you know, the emergence, like how many blog posts he wrote about the emergent abilities and how many talks he's given about emergent, like a lot, you know, like probably like the other day I was just at this webcom keynote, and he was giving a keynote again about emergent abilities, and it's been 2 years, right? So I think one big success of him is that like he does the work, he thinks a lot about like marketing the work itself, right? I did not like in my early parts of my career, early parts in Google, right? I was I think I was putting out a lot of work, but I didn't put in a lot of like effort in like thinking about the like how the work is going to be received. I'll just be like, here's a paper, right? But Jason will be like, I'm going to write this paper and I'm going to like market the shit out of it. So I think I learned a lot about like every single first author paper that like Jason writes in the last year has like 1,000 citations in 1 year.
Oh my god!
No, I mean not every, but like most of it that he leads.
So his hit rate is very high.
His hit rate, like impact density, like is very high, right? So it's pretty interesting. Like I kind of so Jason is way more like younger. Yeah, he's way younger than me, and more like technically like so-called more junior. But I kind of see him as like a peer, and I learn a lot from his. Basically, some people are just like talented in different ways, and I think that like I looked at how he markets his own work and markets himself actually, right? I think that's such a something that I could learn from that.
If someone is starting from zero, like no Twitter presence, what is the second best thing to do? if you don't have a Twitter presence,
you mean as a researcher
for marketing, yeah.
I think you would like the most obvious thing to do, like if you're like a research, like say hypothetically you're like a researcher in like a place without visibility or without, and then you have no personal visibility. The first goal is always to try to find a mentor or co-author that is like within this circle, and then you start from there, right? Because and then you get people from like who has a visibility and following to retweet. So you like work with them. Like the big goal is not about like I learned this. I mean this is like probably a career mistake in my early days. It was that like instead of like focusing on like so-called people like okay if you do good work, it's more of like okay how am I going to like say I see this visible researcher from DeepMind, right? Or how can I collaborate with this person and then like kind of do something that like they feel is cool and like I can win their respect, and that they would like they would be willing to co-author for me, because the exercise itself also about how to, you're not trying to please reviewers or anything. You're just if you can find one semi visible, if you don't even have to be like a famous person, that's like a semi like few tens of not tens of like thousands of followers, has a good reputation of research, and then you collaborate with this person, and then like when you post the work you are co-author with this person, and then like you get the person to like vouch for you, or like just portray over time. This would like, it could be from internships, it could be from just DMs. I think people are nicer than some people, they seem scary, but like if you DM them, they're actually willing to collaborate actually.
I was scared of you actually, no. And when I DM'd you, you turned out a lot nicer than I feared. So thank you for being nice.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
That's good advice. No. I mean, obviously, we didn't know each other before, and then now I think we're getting a bit more friendly. Cool. That's really great advice for people. I just want to leave that out there for people. For others who follow the work the career advice that I give, the title topic of this is pick up what others put down, and specifically pick up what your mentors put down. Like mentors always have more work to do than they have personally time for. The high visibility mentors, and if you can show that you're a good collaborator with them, they will lift you up accordingly. And that's a pretty good formula for career growth. Should I ask about Hyungwon, or I don't know how close you are?
We're still good friends.
Yeah. So again, like one thing that you learned from Hyungwon.
Hyungwon is a great engineer, and he's very systematic in the way he thinks. I think Hyungwon is I mean, without going into detail too much, I still spend a lot of time talking to Hyungwon, even after we both are different places, about like very interesting algorithmic ways to think about life. Like he will even think about things like I should not like diverge too much about personal stuff, but like I think he's like Hyungwon itself, I learned a lot about his way of thinking. more of like very interesting like perspectives on life rather than research. But Hyungwon is a great engineer, and the one thing that scares me about Hyungwon is that like he doesn't he doesn't have multiple monitors. He just codes with one small screen, and he does everything with like very hyper optimized. And then
this is like one of those U curve where like one screen, and then many screens.
Yeah. So I think Hyungwon scares me because it's like, I think that was at New Rips 2022. Like we were doing some work at New Orleans, and then he would be like coding like perfectly fine with like this 13-inch MacBook with like one terminal, and then he keeps telling us like, okay, it's more optimal to using keyboard is more optimal than moving your head, because if you can switch your screen fast enough, it's faster than your head, like moving to different screens and stuff like that. I did not like actually distill that because it's too painful to do that. But like, I mean, he's very interesting in the way that like he belongs to one of those like hardcore people with like one monitor and like.
Maybe this is a relevant question to just close out the Google side. What do you think is a good programmer for AI research? Like,
you mean like setup, or like you think?
No, not setup.
Lifestyle.
Just like not even lifestyle. It's more about skills. Like what should people have? What do you interview for? Maybe, right? What do you see the high performers do differently than the less high performers?
I mean, okay, like generally there's like, I think like for AI researchers, like being a strong IC is like probably like the thing that I feel like is like important for AI researchers. Like not like, I think like there are people who like there's certain level of like sacrifice to be like a AI engineer / AI researcher, especially if you're training like LMs, because you cannot really be detached from like your jobs could die on a Saturday at 4 a.m. right? And then there are people who like would just leave it dead until like Monday morning, and then but there will be people who will crawl out of bed at 4 a.m. to restart the job or to check the TensorBoard or something like that, right? I think like a lot of like being a successful AI researcher is like about like how much you're willing to go to, like, and it needs to come naturally, because you cannot be like, if you're not like, you don't have like this like inductive bias, you're not like the kind of person, but you cannot, if you force yourself to do this, you become miserable, right? Like I think a lot of it is about I want to say like passion is also like the entire thing, but it's more of like just a kind of personality that just the ability, maybe that's the ability of like, if something, there's a bug at like 3 a.m. on like Saturday night or something, right? And then you would like be like, you couldn't go back to sleep unless I'm not saying this is very unhealthy, by the way. Like, people should not do this for a long time. But I think is like and I think this kind of things actually allows people to make progress faster, but it's unhealthy. So I'm also not even sure like what's like the I think, well, I don't, okay, to just on the record, I don't recommend this style of lifestyle. I don't want people to but I think like a lot of people who are like, not a lot, not everybody, like, but I just think this kind of attitude is like important to make progress. I mean, you cannot be like checking out on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and like work at 9 to 5 if you want to like make progress. Or like, some people are just so good at detaching, like, okay, like 8 p.m. I'm not going to, my job can die, and then the chips can stay idle for like the whole night. But yeah, I want to watch Netflix, right? You cannot like, I think there's a level, like, it's like a sport, right? It's not like if you cannot win an Olympic gold if you want to like have like perfect, like super ultra good work-life balance, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think this is kind of like
passion, intensity, dedication.
Intensity, right? Yeah. But I think the thing people like also need to know how to like kind of regulate and make sure that like people don't like die from this type of like,
yeah,
not die per se, but like actually like burn out from this type of things. Yeah.
So those are really good personal qualities. Just technical qualities wise, how much of the stack should people know? You know, if I
Okay, so that was the question.
no, but that was important as well, right?
Okay.
It's just harder to interview for because you really just see it on the job. You know,
I think stack is not like not stack is not that like
should I know CUDA kernels?
I don't know CUDA kernels.
Exactly, right? Okay, good. So for all you listening out there, you don't have,
No,
you don't have to feel
but-
like an imposter.
No, but you need to be willing to learn if you have to, I think.
Well, you haven't had to so far.
Yeah, I haven't had to so far, right? But
So if I like sling PyTorch, okay, great. You know, what kind of like do I know like distributed systems? Like, do I know like what is the stack that you recommend for people that like, you know, gets you like a well-rounded end-to-end researcher?
I don't think there's any specific thing. In fact, I will try to be as like agnostic. I don't really say like, okay, you need to learn JAX, you need to learn this. By the time you finish learning, there's a new framework out anyway. So it's more of like staying like constantly like trying to like being able to continuously learn and update. Like I don't think there's a single single stack or like a single single like workflow or single like yeah, I don't think there's a single one. Yeah. Got it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, that leads us to Reka.
Yep.
What's the founding story?
Okay. So I met some of my other co-founders while we were collaborating at DeepMind. I was at Brain and they were like at DeepMind. And then we wanted to so I see myself as like I was not like I'm not like a startup person. I identify even today as a scientist and a researcher more than like a startup person, right? I think my co-founder Danny started this story, right? And then this Reka was like in the works from like late 2022. I finally left in 2023. It was like I was like Danny kept asking me he wants to do something. Do I want to go with him and do it? And it took a while for me. So I was like kind of the last co-founder to kind of form the
Was the plan always for you to leave at some point and join him?
No.
He was just like convincing you to join.
It was like a 6 months, more than, in fact, like I think more than 6 months period of and I was like I always had this at the back of my mind since like August. I said no, like I didn't like, actually I didn't want to do it in the first place, but but I think eventually like in March I felt that like, okay, it's time for me to experience something new. So there's like from my side, the like kind of like my leap of faith was more of like, I want to experience something new. I've like wrapped up this Palm 2 work at Google, and then like and then more of like, okay, let me experience this new life and see where we can go with this. So I think that was mainly like from my perspective, that was the story of like and we don't have a lot of like, I personally I don't have a lot of like oh, okay, like I okay, the funny thing was that like many years ago, before my PhD, I wanted to do a startup actually at that point. And then over time, I realized that like I was better off as a researcher, and I just forgot about the startup thing. And it's quite funny that today I end up doing a bigger startup, right? But even until now, I actually don't, like, yeah, as I said, I don't really, I still kind of like identify more as like a researcher and scientist, and like, yeah. So I think this is mainly it's a very realistic, like down to earth, grounded founding story. Nothing too fancy. No app, like nothing fancy. It's just, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not when you left Brain, like you already had a high profile coming out of Brain. You could have gone to any startup out there. They all have wanted you, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, like, why did you choose this one? Basically, like, is it just because of pre-existing relationships? Because it wasn't obvious to me. Like, a lot of your other coworkers went to OpenAI. Others went to, if you're fair, you went to Mistral. That kind of stuff, right? Like, Reka, no, Reka was like not on the map.
I think it was for me it was a decision between staying at Google and like co-founding something. I didn't want to be like it was more of the experience of like being a co-founder that like was attracted me, right? And wanting to experience that. I wouldn't have left like for Inflection or something like that. Like, I mean, Inflection is gone.
RIP.
No,
they're still alive. They're selling themselves as a model foundry or something. Something they like. I don't know. They're a services company now.
Yeah, no, but I also think that like for example, like if you have to join like another, like it'll be like a very big tech experience again, right? I don't know. I felt like the experience I get is very complementary to what I have. Like basically what I have experienced now is very complementary to what I that's the experience I had at Google, right? But if I were to join like something else, right, then I wouldn't have like I would have just stayed at Google, to be honest, because to me it was very clear, like just two decisions that I didn't really like. I was talking to a bunch of other startups, but I didn't really actually had the intention to like go. I was happy at Google, actually, to be honest.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they have a lot of things to keep you happy.
I was happy at Google, yeah, actually.
So you describe yourself as GPU poor, but also you had $60 million to play with. You got a whole bunch of GPUs. I think you disclosed somewhere, but I don't remember the exact number. And you had a good training run for Flash and then Core and Edge. How would you tell that the sort of the story? Like, people can read the technical report, but also like what was that overall experience like? And I should also point people to the blog post that you wrote.
So there were a lot of interesting things that happened along the way that like led to our. So I think I left around like early April, like end of March, April, and everything, right? But most of our compute actually came in December, actually.
Yeah.
And there were delays.
Yeah.
So
okay.
H100, there were major delays, right? So we were sitting around, right, bunched with like.
And to be clear, you don't own the compute; you are renting.
Yeah. So we were sitting around like with for a long period of time we had 500 A100s because we made a commitment, like and they were constantly being delayed. I think because of H100 supply demand, whatever like reasons that and it was also very hard to get like a lot of compute like in one place, right? And then we were locked in and we had to wait for the compute to come, right? So I think it was very painful because like even when the compute came, it was mostly broken most of the time, and it was broken to a very bad extent so it was actually before I left Google, I was like even the early stage I was very optimistic about like, okay, this compute translates to this amount of flops, to this model, right? But I never expected the reliability to be so poor that it just threw off all the calculations about like and then we had to work like 10 times harder just to make the thing go smoothly. So I would say that like it was a like bearable pain. I think the pain was like bearable, but like it was just way more than expected.
I think you addressed this in your post, but the temptation would have been just to run everything on TPUs, which is the stack that you already know very well. That works very well.
No. So TPUs outside Google and TPUs inside Google are probably very different things. I think.
How come?
Okay. Firstly, it's like infrastructure. Like there wasn't like a lot of like good code bases like outside Google that was like still right. And the code base that I was most familiar with was like T5X. It was a JAX base. It would have been like by the time we wanted to consider it, it was already like deprecated like for 9 months, right? And then TPUs like we weren't sure about like the availability of TPUs were also not great like.
My perception is it was a lot better. It's just that people have the learning curve.
Yeah, but at the point of time we had our infra set up, we were training models, and like it would be so much cost to like switch to TPUs. So I think TPUs, the experience of TPUs inside outside Google, I have not actually run a single TPU job outside Google, by the way. But just like looking through documentation from what I see outside, and from like how much I think that people inside Google don't care about what people think outside Google. Like I kind of feel like, okay, we were a bit like I don't think we considered I mean not like forever not considering this, but like just like at that point of time it was like
the obvious choice is just stick to PyTorch.
Let's stick to GPUs and PyTorch and make like I mean it's not as if the chips we ordered were not there. They were there. They're just not in the best
reliable
shape, right? So yeah. So I think it was too much like work to kind of migrate suddenly to TPUs. Yeah.
For those who haven't read the report, you had a very traumatic description about the chaotic and stable phases of various compute providers, and I was just wincing when I was reading all those things.
Yeah, no, that was like a three-body problem reference, the chaotic and stable phases. I mean, I was watching three-body problem at the time, and I just thought it was fun to. There was a lot of like, I think we had a lot of fun adding a lot of references and memes into the tech report. I think like it goes to show like how fun the environment is within Reka, right? We had a lot of fun with this, but I think I think chaotic and stable phase mostly is like we actually found that like usually when like a provider like provisions new nodes, or they would like give us. You
don't want to be the first to use it.
Yeah, it's usually like bad, like dog shit, like at the start, and then it gets like better as you go through the process of like returning nodes, like and like draining them, giving it back to them. They will send it back for repairs and everything. Like and then like over time, because it's more of like it's a more of like a numbers game, right? If there's one bad node, it kills the entire job, right? So like the fact of the game became like just eliminating bad nodes from the thing, right? And then I mean just because of the supply issue or something, when the deadline comes to ship this, for example, you like I just give rough numbers, like say you order 1,000 H100s, right? They will not be able to. Usually they don't meet the demand of like 1,000 H100s at the date. They will give you like 500 first, just not to piss you off, and then they'll give you like another 100. Like over like 2-3 weeks, they will just like, okay, I added like 4 nodes, added like 8 nodes, that kind of thing. And then over time, we reach like the capacity like that you actually maybe you never actually ever reach the capacity that you ordered for. And then like as they add these nodes, right, like sometimes these nodes are bad, and then they just kill entire training runs. And the thing which I feel that, I mean, like for all those people like trying to sell GPUs, there are a lot of people trying to sell GPUs now, like resell, sell, package, whatever GPUs right now. I think the most important thing that they are like, obviously there are like SLAs, all this in the contract and everything, and obviously you might be like entitled to something if something goes wrong, right? But like the thing that like for large model training runs is that like one bad node kills the entire job, right? So should the compute provider be liable to pay for all the node wastage? Then
no way.
No, because it's unlikely, because otherwise
it's unrealistic.
Yeah,
no one will take that on.
No one will take that on, right? So I think that's also like a tricky thing. Who is taking the risk? Is the LM startup taking the risk, or is the compute provider taking the risk? Right? I'm sure. I think that I mean, this is my sense. I'm not like 100% sure, but I think as there are more providers trying to sell GPUs, we get all this inbound so much about people trying to sell us GPUs, right? The key differentiator is actually to find a way to balance the risk of node failure with like as long as the provider I'm not like going to say 100%, but like if somebody can come and tell me that my nodes are so stable that I can share some cost with you if your node job dies, this is like green flag, right? The moment they start to I cannot like.
Do any of the big clouds do that?
No, I think as far as I know, no.
They have the
it's very
size
hard it's also very
to
hard
guarantee that.
As far as to the best of my knowledge, I actually don't know if anybody like does that. But I think like for anybody who was watching, or if you do it like a compute startup or anything, the biggest green flag would be to share the cost of node failures with your customers, right? Because
I mean the whole run.
No, like if the node, it's very hard to go, because you need software to like you need software to like so let's say you run it for 12 hours, right?
Yeah.
And it dies after 12 hours, right? You get 12 hours of throughput, right? But then you get like some wastage because of like the downtime and everything, right? I think it would be fair to find some like middle ground to kind of split the cost of the failures, right? And this brings back to my point about like work-life balance, because if the node fail so badly, right? Like it actually, like basically, right, your engineers cannot sleep at all. You have babysitting rosters and everything, but you are living life with like constant anxiety because even in the case, right, where the node failures are refunded, right, you still lose time. You lose 3 hours.
Sure.
You lose everything, right? So I don't know how to go around this, but I think if there are a lot of compute providers like fighting over, like, I think a good thing to do is to figure out like this pain point. Otherwise, or at least like figure out some hot swapping like mechanism but so far most things most of the providers that we tried don't have this. They will also get confused when you try to ask them like, so my job is dead, like can you pay for the food, like can you like refund for, or at least they will get confused because like this is a LM specific thing that the large nodes, like the number
they don't care about.
They get confused about this, right?
So current status quo is the LM startup pays for everything. Right.
Maybe you could negotiate some like refunds, but usually they will not be so generous to pay for like the say you run 500 GPUs, right? If you break for 4 hours, then one node break for 4 hours, right? They in their mind they will be thinking I should refund you for one node, but in your mind you just think that they should refund you for like the full job, right? So
okay, I need to everyone who is from my background is going to be asking this. How is it so fragile? Like, how is it so brittle? Like, what's your frequency of checkpointing?
So our checkpointing is kind of like we see how stable the job is, and then we decide, because checkpointing takes without a good file system, checkpointing takes actually quite long. So it could be
like a few hundred gigs, right? Max.
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember offhand, but
that doesn't take that long.
No. But sometimes if your file system is slow, right, your file I/O is slow, your checkpointing could, for a 20B model, could be like what, 30 minutes or something.
Okay.
I don't know this by heart.
Sure. But it's not hours.
If you go larger, what if it's like a 200B model, right?
Okay. I'm still like, okay, so you should have some kind of ideal checkpointing to run ratio that is not catastrophic if you run into a node failure.
Yeah, no, so we see of it as like a MFU, like, because you can average out your flop utilization, and then you can see how many percent hit, like how much slowdown, right? So you probably go for something like, if it's like you're taking off 1% of your speed, 2% of your speed, so basically it's actually fine to just checkpoint more regularly, right? So I think checkpointing, like you will never also like fully, like you also never fully there'll be like you can get like from the clean slate like nothing, right? As you optimize and like engineer like the system to automatically restart everything, you get some like the time back, but you will never be like perfect, like, so you still lose stuff like that. If you checkpoint too often, like every 30 minutes, then your file system is going to blow up, right? if you're going to checkpoint every for us we just see it as like how much
storage is cheap compared to compute.
No, when your model is like very, very large, your storage can easily blow up. So I think that there's still this pain point.
Okay. Going on to the models, I feel like I digress so much about all these fun side things.
You like compute, right? You like hardware and compute, right?
I love hardware and compute. Oh, and also I'm an orchestration guy.
Yeah.
So one part of one of the questions I'm skipping right now is there's I came from temporal. I'm familiar with Kubernetes. I've used Airflow. These are all the data eng cloud or cloud engineer type tools. It's surprising to me that you guys don't have your set of orchestration tools that is solved, right? You wrote in your blog post, you had like the pain of multi-cluster setups, and like to the rest of us, this is completely solved.
Okay.
I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't think like so we use Kubernetes for a bunch of stuff, but like I think like for experimentation and like stuff like this is still not fully, like we didn't have like the time to actually like build something that is like,
it should exist in open source. Someone should have done this.
Okay.
No, I'm not. It is what it is, but I'm surprised. That's all.
Okay,
because it seems like a valuable problem. and someone should do it.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know. Good to know.
Okay, so Reka Flash Core Edge. Congrats on beating a whole bunch of state-of-the-art models, especially much bigger than each. People can see the papers for all the other stuff. Was this your expectation from the start that you would basically definitely be frontier? Like, how do you like from the start of like you haven't trained anything yet, and you're about to kick off the runs? Like, how are you able to like call your shots and say we will beat GPT 3.5?
Nobody can predict the future.
Okay.
No.
Because
how much confidence? Okay, we were confident. Like we were confident.
How? Yeah. Why?
I don't. So I think with like okay, how right? It's a good question.
Because it'd be a shame to do a whole bunch of work and then end up in the middle of the pack, which a lot of people end up, right?
We were confident. I think that we a lot of it was like YOLO. I mean, I mentioned in the thing. I think we would like require a lot less iteration than this because of our prior experience in like training these models. Like, so I was confident in myself about like our models will turn out to be good. And like I about exactly how I actually don't really like pinpoint to a particular reason of like, I mean, we de-risk stuff, right? We de-risk stuff. So a lot of part of it is like de-risking and like, okay, you run like 4B applications and you can see, okay, this is like my if you run 4B and your loss is like going crazy, you know that, okay, this is going to be a shit model, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it's like we train enough, like, okay, we don't have a lot of compute to do a lot of applications, but we did enough experiments to know that, okay, our infrastructure and our like everything is set up to be good, right? Obviously, you know, the field moves, right? So whatever the field moves. So I wouldn't say that everything was like smooth, like the first time round is like smooth and everything, but I think we were confident in our ability to like make the list. Like we're not like really like we're more confident about like the ability to like move with as little steps as possible to the goal, more so than like we're more confident about this ability more so than like my model is going to be this like level at this time, you know what I mean? It's more of like you know, like for example, we let's say we run the first round of human evaluations, right? And then we see our number as this, right? And then we were confident that in 5 more tries we'll get to this, you know, kind of like get to like this. Is more of like that kind of confidence rather than actually you know, you know, it's also a little bit of like, you know, you see a new leaderboard hypothetically, like in academic, like as a researcher, you see we release a new leaderboard, right? You approach it like a puzzle. You don't know like whether you at the start of it you might not have the answer to the puzzle, but if you're good at solving puzzles, like generally, right, you know that with 1 hour I'll be able to solve it. You know, that kind of confidence, like it's like, you know, it's the ability to hill climb or the ability to improve over arbitrary things, right? Rather than, I think we were confident more about that rather than you know, I mean the everything is different, right? The stack is different, the infrastructure is different, the data is also different from what I mean, we have
which
a lot
you haven't talked about, right? It's just 5 trillion
we have
tokens.
a lot of we have a lot of experience from prior like our jobs, but like it's not going to be the, like we don't have actually exactly the same thing, because you know, like different companies have different stacks, everything, right? So it's more about de-risking, being confident in like solving the general problem of like improving over things, which is why also I think that the team is valuable in the sense that we are not like valued by our model itself, but we are just valued about like how we can see one problem and we can just like solve it like super quickly, yeah. Right? And that's what we are confident about, right? It's more of like than actually like the artifact itself.
You mentioned that, mentioning your team, you said at the largest your team was 3 to 5 people on the pre-training side. It was that the team that you recruited? Was it all your ex-colleagues? How do you find people that you know, would have this kind of solid intuition?
So I think that like some of the people in our team were like, I worked with them at Google, at ex-colleagues and stuff. Like some of them were like fresh hires, like they were like fresh PhDs or like and everything. I think that everybody helped out and worked like quite like they did what they were like the best at, and like I think yeah, I think we yeah.
Okay.
I don't know whether to answer the question, but yeah.
I'm
getting
always
like
looking for like, how do people get hired at Reka, or like what if other companies are looking to hire like you have hired. I think you've hired successfully well. You small team that with impactful results. What should they be thinking about when hiring, right? So these are useful takeaways for people if they're listening in. But if you don't have any, if it's all vibes, it's okay. It's vibes.
But yeah, okay, good vibes only. Right?
I understand. Okay, so I do want to comment on GNOME architecture.
Okay.
So if you want to, like, people have variants of all these: Swiglu, GQA, Rope, RMS Norm, and then obviously the big one is encoder, decoder versus decoder. Could you comment on each of those? Like, were you just like, we're confident that GNOME got it right, or did you actually do an evaluation of each of your architecture choices?
Oh, I mean, like, okay, architecture-wise is something that I feel like I'm easily able to, like, I've run so many architecture experiments that, like, like, as in, like, I look at architecture and I don't want to be, like, overly, like, but it's like, I think it's very hard to outperform the OG GNOME.
Why? It can't. I mean, on the surface of it, like, we have to have learned something in the last.
No, all the changes that like Swiglu was this, like, okay, Swiglu is like probably one of my favorite papers of all time. That's because of the divine benevolence. Like, the GNOME actually wrote like we owe this success to divine benevolence. Like, that was like it's always a meme thing, right? And like, okay, so like GQA, MQA was always like the multi-query that was always like a big controversial thing, because MQA usually you get a hit because it's MQA and everything. So people kind of know that, like, it was a very
hit in performance?
Like, hit or miss. Like, it was like you could get a hit in performance from MQA, like MQA alone. MQA was always like, the choice, right? It's always like, okay, should you use MQA? Should you not use MQA? Right? When GQ came in, right, it became like a no-brainer to use GQA because you don't get a hit anymore, and then you just get the fast, like, inference benefits of GQA, right? So I think GQA,
which Llama 3 now.
Yeah. So I think Llama 2 already. I'm not very sure.
Llama 2, the 70
GQA, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the reason why we call it GNOME architecture because, like, MQA came from GNOME and GQA was like a follow-up paper by some of my colleagues at Google, right? So I think GQA became a point where, okay, this is already accepted. Like, it is good enough. Like, it's a no-brainer to use GQA. Swiglu was an interesting thing because there was a very long period of time. So Swiglu was a single author paper by GNOME, and very few papers Swiglu had very few citations, like, at the start, because it was like it was obscure. Like, only Google papers were citing Swiglu at one time, and a lot of them was like I was like at one point I was like probably like 30% of Swiglu citations, because every time like Swiglu became popular because of the updated T5, the T5 1.1 that uses Swiglu, right? And nobody actually really cared about Swiglu for a long time, because I was checking, why is this like underrated paper like not getting much citations? And then I think probably now it has like a few hundred citations by now. But I think Swiglu is one of the things that I played around with a lot, like at Google. So Swiglu really works. There was also a paper we wrote about, like, do transformer modifications, blah blah blah. Like, it was a paper with Norm and Sharan and Hyungwan and stuff like that. And then we emulated like so many transformer variants.
Yes, yeah, I saw that. And some of them matter, but most of them don't.
Most of them don't. And then the only thing that mattered in that paper was Swiglu. I forgot which exact Swiglu variant was it, and sparsity at that time, right? So that was strong enough, like, to finding right. So I think Swiglu is one thing that really works.
For the listeners, this is the inductive bias. Scaling laws versus model architectures. How does inductive bias?
No, not this one. There was another one, like, to transformer modifications, something.
Okay.
I think I forgot. First author was Sharan, I think.
All right.
Sharan Arang.
You gave the keywords, so
yeah.
people can find it.
And then yeah, so I think
So rope and RMS norm are left.
like I think the RMS norm rope thing
Not
like,
controversial.
Like is not like obviously I think rope is probably like it has that extrapolation thing which is nice. And then like it's also like default now, nobody wants to add positional embeddings anymore, right? And I mean I like the T5 style relative attention for a bit, but like I think okay, rope is I actually ran that ablation for Palm, like the T5 relative attention versus rope and stuff. I think rope is similar to other things, but it has this extrapolation thing which is nice, and like and you know I think it's this.
Which is why your long context version can go to 256. Okay.
This for most of the long context models, they use the rope extrapolation thing, which is nice property, right? So that was for rope. I think there were also like some things like the layer norm like positions and stuff like that. That were like you know like it mattered a little bit, maybe not too much and everything. But I think in general there was not a lot of like there are not a lot of things that people could do to the transformer to it's been like 4 or 5 years, right? And then
it's amazing.
The vanilla transformer, I think if you use it as it is today, will not be like that optimal. But like the transformer that we slowly evolve to now is like the gnome transformer is probably like very 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 strong baseline that is very hard to like I don't even think that anything that I don't even think that like I think you need a drastic shift to beat that, right?
The stage-based model type
like,
things.
or you could find like more like Suigu is a small change, right? You could find like some small change that are a big enough impact, like widely, like that don't cause a lot of like, because like a lot of architecture changes, right? The moment they are like tedious to implement, like nobody, like Suigu is a simple thing, right? Just split it and then create it. It's a very simple thing to implement. Maybe that's why it's caught on, because it has like a additional boost. That's for the simplicity of it, right? So there's also like a bit of like implementation lottery, if you will, right? A little bit of like if you propose like some very complicated thing for like 0.1%,
easy and PyTorch.
yeah, nobody will use that, right? So
the biggest I mean I can't believe we're taking so long to come to this topic, but the biggest GNOME architecture decision is encoder decoder versus decoder only.
No, so encoder decoder is not like a GNOME. The GNOME architecture is only
maybe like more old school transformers. Like I don't know. So just maybe we want to just talk about the decision on encoder decoder versus decoder only.
So I wouldn't be able to comment about like exactly our setup, but like I think encoder decoder are kind of very misunderstood from like a kind of very misunderstood thing, right? So there's encoder decoder, there's a non-causal decoder, which is a prefix LM, and then there's a decoder only model, right? Technically, a causal decoder and a non-causal decoder are very similar in the sense that it's just a bidirectional mask, right? Mm-hmm. And then a prefix LM and an encoder decoder has only the only difference is that encoder decoder splits the inputs and targets into different non-shared transformer stacks. And then there's encoder bottleneck in the end, right? So technically, people like kind of always associate like encoder decoders with like BERT or like something like you know, people get confused about these things, right? But I think in the UL2 paper we really like kind of explored this, and also like maybe some of the big science papers that also talk about this, right? Is that prefix LM and causal decoders are very similar. That's the mask. Prefix LM and encoder decoder are actually also quite similar. At the end of the day, they're all autoregressive transformers. There's actually like really like the only big benefit of encoder decoders is that it has this thing called like what I like to call like intrinsic sparsity.
Okay.
So basically, encoder decoder with like n params is like basically if it's like it has the cost of like an n/2 decoder model. So it's a bit like a sparse model because you actually spend the same amount of flops. It's just that you have two sets of parameters, like for encoder and decoder, right? So it's actually flop matched with a decoder model of like half the parameters. So like UL220B is actually about a 10B decoder only model, right? So you get free sparsity, like free sparsity from that. It's something that okay. The OG T5 paper talks about this. You can look at it. There's this complexity chart. I didn't like come up with it, but when doing the UL2 paper, I kind of like was mind blown by like wow, encoder decoder is so much more if
expressive.
No, not expressive. It's so much more powerful compared to decoder model on the same flop match, right? There's a table in the OGT5 paper. This was 2019 actually.
Okay.
There was like so I think there actually isn't really much to the only thing about the encoder decoder architecture is that it provides like a 2x intrinsic sparsity, like free sparsity, right? But then the question is that if you go to MOE, there's this still hold, because actually MOE also kind of it's like the flop param ratio that you kind of like you kind of change the plot param ratio of and then like encoder decoder is like a 2x or that. So it's just like that. The difference in architecture is just that it's not that complicated. Like people don't need to overthink this, right? The other thing though is the objective function of the people always associate encoder decoder with the thing, right? It's not the same thing. You can train encoder decoder with regular language modeling, and you will actually, to be honest, like a lot of the retrieval augmented language models can also be seen as some form of encoder decoder, because you have the retrieved documents as like the encoder. They could get compressed. They're actually not very.
They're not in the model, but you can insert them in the context.
No, it's not actually that. I mean, people are kind of overthinking this, like encoder decoder, like decoder only thing, right? They are actually at the end of the day like autoregressive models.
So the context becomes the encoding element.
Yeah, it's also that's how you think about like encoder, for example a decoder only model, right? You have the prop, like there's inputs and targets. Like you just think of it as like the targets like generation, input is like the prompt, and whatever context you can retrieve documents, whatever, you just like put that in, right? You could also put that inputs into the encoder instead, and then you just continue generating from decoder, or you could just put like the inputs into the decoder, but then you put like some extra not so important information into the encoder. The advantage of this though is that by splitting it into encoder decoder, your encoder can actually do a little bit more funky stuff, like because you are not bounded by the causal mask anymore. A lot of the efficient transformers, like a lot of the sparse transformers, like I mean the early days, that's like like lean formal and like whatever things like this, they cannot maintain the causal mask, and that's why you cannot train a language like proper language model with this, right? But with like if you separate out your very long context into an encoder, this encoder has no loss, right? You could just do like aggressive pooling. You could do some crazy sparse attention that has like that is like like funnel transformer or something like that, right? And then you could make that smaller than the decoder. You could make that faster than the decoder. You could also do like so I mean that are just some of the advantages of why like splitting into encoder decoder is actually like could be beneficial to like just using like a decoder only model, but fundamentally I mean like it's a at the end of the day the decoder in encoder decoder is a language model. It's still a regular autoregressive language model. So that's actually like I mean it's not that much different from like a retrieval augmented language model that you pass like retrieve.
This is news to me. I don't know if you've ever expressed this, but yeah, this is actually makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
I don't unfortunately I don't know enough to push back on this, but on the surface of it seems to make sense. Would you make the same choices if you were not focused on multimodality? Because like that's one of the ways in which I was thinking like, oh, encoder decoder makes sense, that it's more natively multimodal.
Yeah, I just have to say that it's also
relevant.
Yeah, it's relevant.
Okay. Yeah. It wasn't that obvious to me, and I don't know if you want to compare your approach versus Adept's approach, because they've published some things on Fuyu. I don't know if you consider them competition or not, but like obviously they're also trying to push this kind of similar models that you're also releasing. In the sense of like small, medium, large multimodal models.
I'm thinking whether I should say something about this.
It might be hot take.
So we compare with Fuyu AB, the release one.
Yeah, yes, they maybe don't do as well on the benchmarks or whatever, but I'm just thinking about the architecture choices because a lot of people are commenting on.
I think we were not confident, not comfortable talking more about this.
Yeah, because the vision encoding was interesting. Okay, anything else we should talk about, Reka, that we haven't covered? And if you want to drop hot news, we can embargo until the news is public.
No, there's nothing. Yeah, we can move on. Yeah.
Cool. Then we can move on to broader trends in LLMs, just commentary on just ecosystem stuff, like completely independent from Reka. You commented on a few things, like Llama 1 to 3 glowed up a lot. I call this the Llama 1 to 3 glow up. Like they improved into like an actual top tier open source model.
Yeah.
Phi 1 was had a lot of criticism, but it seems like Phi 3 is getting a lot of love. Do you just generally see like in your open model tier list, like what's going up and down?
So I think Llama 1 and Llama 2 are like quite mid, right? But Llama 3 actually got good, right? I think Llama 3 is actually strong, right? I don't really follow Phi much, just that like I just don't follow
their whole thesis is the textbooks is all you need thing, right? Like that we can use way less data than everyone else and still.
But I think you cannot cheat the scaling laws, right? Because like I remember saying like vaguely saying that like oh they match like Mixtra 8/22 or like something like that on like some I don't think these academic benchmarks are like that meaningful anymore, right? So but then when they go on LMsys they get like what 47 and then they get like maybe just like slightly maybe
that was Phi 2. I don't know about
there's Phi 3. No, I think
Phi 3 was just released like yesterday.
Oh, I didn't even know. Yeah, but I don't know. I think there's some like I don't follow Phi that much, but I think that like a model that is synthetically I don't even know this where like I didn't even read the paper, but I think that like a model that is like based on the premise of like distilling and stuff, something like that is like not that interesting to me. So I think I don't really follow like Phi much, but I think that like Llama 3 actually shows that like kind of like Meta got a pretty like a good stack around training these models. And I've even started to feel like they actually kind of maybe caught up to Google now, right? The kind of feeling that's also maybe a hot take itself, but yeah, I mean Phi I don't really kind of follow it that much, and I mean there's too much things to follow, so I think it's like I think like Llama 3 is probably like the first most legit open source.
When you say these kinds of things like most legit, obviously there's vibes eval or whatever, but like I feel like a lot people the very common feeling is MMLU is kind of saturated.
Yeah.
So like what do you look at now? Is it just LMsys?
Okay, so I think that LMsys has its problems also.
Yeah.
So LMsys is not like exactly like I mean it's probably better than all these regular benchmarks, right? But I think like serious LLM labs create their own evals, and a good eval set is one that you don't release.
Yeah.
Right. A good eval set is the one that you like. Okay, you release some of it, but like it's like you don't like let it be contaminated by the community. So I think like I think LMsys is probably the most legit one, like out of all the, I mean like the things like GSM8K human eval, they're like the coding human, they're all like
contaminated.
Like not I wouldn't say like they're all like saturated, contaminated. No, like a GSMK whether you're 92, 91, like no one cares, right? That kind of thing, right?
But we still report 3 decimal places in all of our reports.
Yeah. But it's kind of like almost like this like a obligatory thing to do. You have a table of
numbers of your thing at the bold.
It's interesting to see how the field evolves. Also over time for this type of like benchmarks, but I think evals are going to be important, and it's on the interestingly it's on probably on the academics to set the correct like set the correct. I mean, they have like they've been academics have always been like oh, we have no computers, but like okay, this is your chance to like steer the field in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think that the challenge is getting attention. So now MMLU is reaching its end of its life. Like what is next, right? There's MMMU or there's MMLU Hard, which someone recently released.
It's Pro or MMLU Pro, I think.
Pro?
Yeah, it's called MMLU Pro.
Oh yeah, that's right.
MMLU Pro.
But like that only lasts you like a year, right? And then and then you have to find something else. So I don't really know what is that. Well, so one thing, you had a comment I think in your Reka paper about there's two types of evals. Oh, this is a vibe eval paper. One is LMsys judge, and then two is arena style, right? As sort of the two ways forwards for just general evals that cannot be gamed.
Oh no, there's also like human evals that you like instead of LM as a judge. There's also like human evals.
Human evaluations
that you run. Like that's kind of similar to arena, but kind of different to some extent also. Different in the sense that.
By the way, do you use your own staff to do that, or do you like hire an outsourcing firm?
No, we don't. We have we work with third-party data companies too.
Okay.
There are a bunch of these like around, right? But like obviously we don't like eval them ourselves. Like
I don't know. Like I don't know how many evals you want to do, right? Like I do think Andre Kapati mentioned that sometimes the best researchers do their own evals.
Yeah, and looking at the outputs and stuff is something that like researchers should do.
Well, there is one element of parametric evals which I'm hoping that more people can come up with, where like you kind of you generate the eval is kind of like a formula. Sorry, the benchmark is generated from a seed. Let's say, and you can withhold the seed, or like you can vary the seed. I can report how your model did on the benchmark given a certain set of seeds or whatever, and you can maybe average them. But in that way, it becomes much harder to contaminate. I wonder if that is.
But do you have like a
possible.
do you have, like is there
an example of this? Not specifically. This is just something I'm wondering for myself. But someone did recently put out GSM 1K, which was
the scale thing. Or the
I think is it scale AI?
Yeah.
Which is similar in that respect. Like make it easy to make variations of a well-known benchmark, but like that is more likely to be withheld from training data. Seems like.
Yeah. But like, eventually those were like so. It's always a cycle. Like even we put out vibe eval, we also are quite like upfront with like if the more people use it, there's a lifetime. It's like a car, right? After you run a certain miles, it's time to shelve it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's like actually like a good solution to. In general, I'm also like a bit I think this is like important for the community to think about, right? But like, is it like a fundamental limitation that any benchmark that goes out? Like, also there's also one thing is that in the past people used to like withhold test set, right? Like squat, they used to withhold test set. But then like after a while, I think people also realized that like when you withhold like
Kaggle
no, like when you withdraw it's like so much extra work for like the community to like eval on this that they just don't do that, right? It's either your data set becomes your benchmark becomes unpopular, or I think it's also incentive things, right? So if let's say you are you want to run like a contest, right? And then your goal as an academic is to get as much citations as possible on this benchmark paper, right? Like then you or like this you want to be as famous as possible. You would not want to withhold the test set, because if you withhold the test set and then people have like there was once like in I mean like many years ago, there were even some benchmarks where you had to like package your model and send it to them to run, like and this benchmarks never ever took off just because like, so at the end of the day, right, it's like it's the root problem, like incentives, like it's the benchmarking problem is also like an incentive problem, right? So like it's also like people want to show their model is the best, and then the game masters want to gain as much clout as possible. And I think also LMsys also got into some. I don't have a take of this, but like there's like people who also feel that they are also optimizing for hype, right? Their own clout, right?
Definitely.
So there's all this. I think it's a lot of interesting. Like I don't know what field this will be, but I don't know, sociology. I don't like.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of papers to be written, right? I mean about how these incentives, like rewards and incentives, like kind of. But it might not be soft. So. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll say SweBench is probably the the one that's kind of broken out this year as like now a thing that everyone wants to compete on as if you're a coding agent. I don't know if you have a view on it, but it's just like you have it should be known to be hard, and it should be you should be able to make progress on it quickly. That makes you popular and cited a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, multimodality versus omnimodality. So this is a little bit of commentary on GPT-4o and Chameleon. I don't know if you saw the Chameleon paper from Meta.
Briefly saw it. I didn't really take a look at it.
Basically, the general idea is that most multimodal models, like Lava or Flamingo, which are late fusion, which is you freeze, and then you just join together, versus early fusion, where you do it properly, where like everything is, all the modalities are present in the early pre-train stage. And it seems like things are trending from late fusion to early fusion is the general thesis, with GPT-4o being very obviously early fusion. You guys, I would class it as early fusion. I don't know if you have commentary on whether this is obvious to you, or this is the way, or they will coexist. Anything like that.
I think whenever possible, like early fusion is better. But like, I think there will still be a lot of works that do late fusion just because of like it's a
GPU poor.
No, not GPU. Okay, but partially right. I see this like as an artifact of the line between language researchers and vision researchers, and more of like, okay, like people who are training language models, they put out like a llama or whatever, and then somebody takes it and then do late fusion on top of it. It's more like it's just eventually
it's Conway's law. It's shipping the org chart.
Yeah. I think so. I don't know what law was it.
Conway's law.
Okay, I didn't know about that. But it's kind of like an artifact of the organization, don't you think? Right? Like
no, it's just because people don't have money to train things from scratch. I don't know.
No. I mean, even in big companies, right?
Okay.
Like I don't know how things have evolved in many companies, but like
you're talking about Flamingo.
Like language and vision teams don't used to be the same team, right? So I think this is like a artifact of this. But as early fusion models get more traction, I think the teams will start to get more and more it's a bit like of how all the tasks like unify, like from 2019 to like now, it's like all the tasks are unifying. Now it's like all the modality is unifying, and then I think like eventually everything move towards like early fusion.
Yeah. Something I don't understand is, and I don't know, if you feel free to pass on this if you're not confident, but tokenization of images to the same latent space as the language stuff. Like, I feel like is there a paper that I should read on like how this is done?
Oh, then I should pass on this. I'm not a
person. Yeah. Okay. The other element of multimodality I'm interested in, and that came up in the Adept paper. Please. We've been talking for an hour and a half. I've been calling this screen modality, screen vision versus general vision. In the sense that Adept is like very, very focused on screens, tables, charts, blah blah blah, and most vision models focus on things in the real world and embodied sort of images. Do you have a view on the usefulness for this? Should it all just be part of a mix? Anything of that nature? I see this as the primary division now in multimodal focuses that I came away from when I talked to David for the Adept episode. Like, I came away really impressed with that idea that actually the more valuable thing should be screens.
I don't think there's like a huge like. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like maybe screen intelligence is like more useful in general. But like, what if you have like a natural image in the screen?
Yeah, there should be part of a mix.
No, I think at the end of the day, it should be mixed, right? If a model can do natural images well, it should be able to do screen well and everything. I think at the end of the day, like the models would become like, I don't see that there will be like screen agents and like natural image. In humans, like you can read what's on the screen, you can go out and appreciate the scenery, right? You're not like say I only can look at screens and then, like right. So I think eventually the models would like be this good on everything. I don't feel like okay there's a I think I look at it from a point of like capabilities. And screen is like, there's even screen, there's also like, like mobile phone screen, and there's also like, laptop screen, like also like, different type of interfaces and everything, like reading emails, whatever, right? But like, or like reading a page from a website, or like, buying something from like Amazon or something, like all kinds of things, right? And then even in the picture of like a shopping website, there could be like a natural, or like for example, like picking Airbnb, right? But like there's a natural image in there. Then it's like you have to understand like how nice is the scenery, right? Or like like where is it, right? Like so I think at the end of the day, it's probably like the same.
If you want to build a general model.
Yeah. But I think the natural images is like way easier. Like as in that's way like the models current models are actually already very pretty good at these natural images. And I think like screen images are just something that people need to like enhance the capability a little bit more. That's why there's like some focus on that. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, excellent. I'll touch on 3 more things and then we'll just go to career stuff. Scaling laws. Palm 2 was Chinchilla, which is one-to-one scaling of model parameters and data. Now you are training a 7B model with 5 trillion tokens. What are you thinking about the trend in scaling laws for data versus
Chinchilla scaling laws are just like optimal for compute. Like with this amount of compute, how much is the thing, right? But like actually the optimal, like there's no, I mean this is something that even before I left, like we already, we already knew that like Chinchilla scaling laws are not the end of it, right? Obviously there's also a inference optimal scaling law, which is obviously you take a small model and then you just blast it with as much compute and data as you can
until
you saturate on everything that you care about, right?
Okay.
Right. So I think like Llama 3 is what 15T tokens or something, right?
Yeah.
So I think,
which is ridiculous.
it's ridiculous to be honest. But at a certain point of time, your value per flop is like not great anymore because you just your models eventually get like saturated. But then the problem of like the question of like where is it saturation is also like you always find like some metric that you still continue to improve a little bit, and then you're like, okay, maybe like 100K more is worth it to continue training like just a little bit more, right? But then it's like where does it end, right? But I think at the end of the day, the thing about Chinchilla scaling laws is that like it was a bit misunderstood. Like it's not really like there was not any like bad intention in the way it was framed. It's just that it got misunderstood as though like this model you need this compute and if you train the Chinchilla scaling laws like you kind of like I don't know why so many people had this idea that you will not improve past the Chinchilla scaling law, and then people make so much big deal about training past Chinchilla scaling law, like Llama 2 is the first model, like T5 base, right, was 1 trillion tokens. That was really so much beyond Chinchilla scaling law, right? Because that was T5 base, right? So I don't know why so many people are so surprised about going past Chinchilla scaling law when
I think OPT and GPT maybe set that as an industry standard, as GPT-3 specifically. I don't know. That's my initial thought. No, sorry. Wait, GPT-3 was not Chinchilla scaling.
No,
right?
I think like OPT and Bloom, right? Models like this, they train a large model and with a very small number of tokens, and the model turned out to be bad.
Yeah. So I'm talking about Kaplan, the pre-Chinchilla one, the Kaplan scaling laws.
Oh, okay.
That one was from OpenAI.
Yeah.
Anyway, death of Chinchilla covered, agreed.
But Chinchilla is still a cool paper. I think Chinchilla is still an important
I
paper.
love any scaling laws paper, to be honest. It's like such a service to the community in general. Hugging Face recently did one data ablations, which is like a data scaling laws paper, looking at data constraints, which is kind of nice.
I see.
Long context. People are touting million token context, 2 million token from Gemini. Magic is talking about 100 million token. How important is it, do you think?
I think we need to solve benchmarks first before solving the long context, right?
We have your benchmark.
No, not like benchmarks for long context.
Okay, yeah.
Because the needle in haystack is basically like like a MNIST, like or it's like a unit test for this style of things, right? But like I think like there's a one part about like hitting the context length and the other part about like actually utilizing, right? I think Gemini's long context is surely like amazing, right? But I think like for the community to move forward in this, then it comes to a problem of like how do you evaluate this? I think I see some long context benchmarks like coding one like and stuff like that. Like I think making those are important and for the community to hill climb. But I think long context is important. It's just that you don't have a very good way to like measure them like properly now. And yeah, I mean, I think long context is definitely the future rather than RAG. But I mean, they could be used in conjunction, like
definitely rather than the future. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a hot take.
Which part of the which
context? Long context is the future rather than RAG. Like they will coexist, but you are very positive on long context. Where I would put myself on the mirror image, which is like long context is good for prototyping, but any production system will just move to RAG.
There are a lot of application use cases where you want a model to take their time and then come up with the right answer, right?
Sure.
Because RAG is like...
But you'll use those sparingly because they're expensive calls.
Yeah, it depends on like the nature of the application, I think. Because if in RAG, right, like there's a lot of issues like, okay, how you... Like the retrieval itself is the issue, or like, you know, you get fragmented, like, you know, if it's like, what if it's like a very complex story, right? That you like a storybook or like a complex like thing, right? And then like RAG is very like you kind of chunks, right? Yeah. The chunking is like and you definitely have lots of information, right?
Yeah,
so I think there are a lot of application use cases where you just want the model, like you were like, okay, like $100, like take your time, take one whole day, come back to me with like an answer, right? Rather than like I pay like 1 cent and then like get back a wrong answer. So I think there's like it's actually very easy to show that RAG is better than long context because there are a lot of tasks that don't need this long context. You like fact retrieval, you just like RAG and then you do this thing, right? So like long context may get a unfairly bad rap sometimes because like it's very easy to show like RAG is like 100 times cheaper and it's very easy to show this, right? But then it's also like not so easy to emphasize the times where you actually really need the long context to really make like very good like decisions. So yeah, I mean I think both have their pros and cons depending on the use cases. Using them together is also interesting. And like at the end of the day, it's like a H param that you have to wiggle around, right? Yeah.
There's another wiggle on the H param, or there's another toggle on the H param, which is how much you fine tune new knowledge into the model. Are you positive on that? Do you have any views? I can elaborate if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, for example, instead of doing RAG on a corpus and then inserting into context, you would just fine tune your model on the corpus, so it learns the new knowledge in whatever capacity, right? Like.
This is cumbersome, I guess. This is cumbersome, and you don't want so many of like the point of in-context learning is so that you don't actually have to do. I think this one is depending on like the business use case, right? If fine tuning is actually like you are very clear like you want this knowledge and then you just fine tune once and then you don't ever have to pay like context like in the context window cost again, then maybe that makes sense. But then if the domain keeps changing, then you might not like.
Yeah, obviously it doesn't make sense if the domain keeps changing. But I think for the model to maybe update fundamental assumptions or reweight associations between words for, let's say, a legal context versus a financial or medical context, like it might work. This is the arguments that some people are talking about. So I see this as a trio. Like it's long context, it's RAG, and it's fine tuning. Like people always have this like whether either of them will kill RAG. Basically, because RAG is kind of the simplest approach.
Okay. I mean, I could see it like if you want a model for medical domain, legal domain, then fine tuning really works. It's always the most like the domain specialized model, universal model, and the kind of this tension between both of them.
Yeah.
I think it definitely like makes sense. And it also makes sense like to that fine tuning can also be like an alternative to RAG. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's some companies that are set up entirely just to do that for people. So It's interesting that, I mean, I kind of view Reka as like not working in that space, but you could potentially offer that if you wanted to. Okay, I was going to ask about efficiency and scaling. I'll just mention this briefly, and then we can talk about MOEs, because I discovered that you wrote, you're a co-author on the sparse upcycling paper, which is excellent.
Oh no, I was just advising on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you can talk about sparse upcycling. It's a topic that's hot. But more generally, efficiency, in my mind, when I go to iClear, I go to NeurIPS, I see efficiency paper, 90% of the chance I'm just going to ignore it, because I don't know if it's going to work. And I think this is related to some of your scaling work and your inductive bias work,
scaling law was
which is like, okay, there was this Tior Texas. I don't know who this person is on Twitter.
He keeps talking about me.
It's fucking amazing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does have some obsessions, but like he's good. I don't know who he is, but he's good. So he says if 2024 papers are to be trusted, you don't need most attention, you don't need high precision, you don't need most KV cache, you don't need most FIFO network layers, you don't need a reward model, blah blah. Like it's like a lot of efficiency papers are just like, hey, on this like small example, we cut this thing out, works fine, or works great, works better, whatever, and then it doesn't scale. Right, like, or so it's a very interesting observation where like most efficiency work is just busy work, or like it's work at a small scale that just ignores the fact that like this thing doesn't scale because you haven't scaled it. It's just fine for a grad student, but as for someone who's trying to figure out what to pay attention to, it's very difficult to figure out what is a worthwhile direction in efficiency.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's a couple. I agree with you fundamentally that like that. It's actually quite easy to tell. Like when you see a paper, okay, this one doesn't work, this one works, this one doesn't work. I guess the Hippo account will just tell you that sometimes it's not entirely about this thing doesn't work, this thing works, everything. Right? Sometimes it's not like, like it's like you can always find a task in a data set where your efficiency method gets neutral results, right? You can always find one thing that has, okay, I have comparable perplexity. And you know what's the cutest thing ever? Every time some people propose like this, they run like some zero-shot score on like some LM eval harness or something like that. And like at 1B scale, all the numbers are random basically. Like all your BooQ, right, they're all like random chance performance, right? And they will be like, okay, I get like 50 versus 54, I'm better. But like, dude, that's all random chance, right? Like, I've seen papers that they run experiments at like,
okay.
And then
that's a good tell. Yeah, that's a good tell.
Right. So, I think it's very like the sad truth is that like it's very hard to tell until you scale out, and sometimes the benchmarks that we have don't even probe entirely about what like there's, I mean, especially all the works about the the transformer alternatives, right? You can always find like this alternative that at 7B scale, at 3B scale, you kind of like, okay, I met transformer on this and this, right? But then what's the implications when you go to like 200B? What's the implications when you go to 100B? No one knows that, right? So I think that's one thing, right? Yeah, I think developing your own intuition of like what works and what doesn't work is important. And like, for example, if somebody's like, okay, to be honest, all researchers like sometimes are also like guilty of this sometimes, because you cannot test on like everything. They cannot test on everything, right? So sometimes you also just want to show your method works on this, but it depends on the objective. If the objective is to write a paper to ICML, sure, you can find 2 data sets your stuff works, right? But will you get adopted? I'm not sure. So.
Yeah, well, researcher metagame is one thing, but as a consumer of research, I'm also trying to figure out like how do I know what is a useful direction? That's the interesting thing. So, for example, MOEs seem to have worked out. I'll go so far to say it's the first form of sparsity that worked. Like, because there's so much sparsity research. Like we can chop all these parameters and. Look, we still perform the same, but then it never actually works. But MOE is really.
Oh, you mean like the pruning line of work?
Pruning line of work. Sorry, I should have used that word. So like, it's. I don't know if you have any commentary on like Mixtral, DeepSeek, Snowflake, Qwen, all these proliferation of MOE models that seem to all be sparse upcycled, because you were advisor on the sparse upcycling paper.
The sparse upcycling paper was mostly vision focused with a little bit of T5 experiment. So it was it was like it was a very like early stage of like sparse upcycling, but it was good that Google was really thinking about this like long ago.
And Gnome also had a paper on it, right?
Yeah. And then, so I think, wait, what was the question again? Like,
so
what I think about?
What do you think about MOEs?
I think
like,
MOEs
is it
are
very promising?
I think MOEs are the way to go.
Is it like 100 experts? Is it 1,000 experts? Like for some reason the community settled on 8.
No, you probably get more gains from more than 8. But like, I think in general, it's like MOEs are just a trade-off with like prime and flop, right? And then you're able to like kind of you kind of make that scaling law increase from that additional so you can keep a low flop but kind of have more parameters. It's just changing the flop parameter ratio.
Keeping in mind there's a lot of inefficiency between the experts.
Yeah. But I think that it is how do I say? I think as a architecture itself, the flop parameter ratio makes it like worth it, right? But I think the thing that is not very well understood is that like how does like MOE like for me as a research question is that like when you like how does it like relate to capabilities and stuff like that? Like does this inductive bias actually like like for example when you do like massive instruction tuning, I think there was this paper like Flan MOE or something. Like they show that like like instruction tuning. I'm not like fully sure. I don't recall fully, but like when you do massive instruction tuning, like MOE models are like they behave differently from dense models and stuff like that. Like I think, like fundamentally, I just think that MOEs are just like the way to go in terms of like flop parameter ratio. They bring the benefit from the scaling curve. If you do it right, if they bring the benefit from the scaling curve, right, and then like that's the performance per flop argument, like activated primes, whatever. That's like kind of like just a way to slightly cheat the scaling law a little bit, right? By having more parameters, right? I think the more interesting thing is about like what trade-offs do you make in terms of capabilities because of this new architecture. I think that's actually like the question that I guess all the frontier labs they already know this, but nobody's writing papers anymore about this. So like you just have to live with what's outside. But I think MOEs are. I think I'm bullish about MOEs. Yeah.
I had to. I made an exercise for myself on rating research directions and what their asymptotic value is. And I put MOEs pretty low because I think you have a good base model and then you upcycle it and it bumps you a little bit, and I think that's it. But like I'm always seeking to invalidate my hypothesis. Right?
Oh, but like from scratch MOE is also promising, right?
From scratch MOE is promising.
I think sure. in the ideal case you do MOE from scratch. I think. I think in the ideal case you do MOE from scratch.
Upcycling is just a.
Upcycling is just a
I think people still harbor. So there's some rumors about the architecture of GPT-4, where they had pluggable experts, in the sense that the vision model was vision expert was pluggable. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but this is something that was said.
I see.
I mean, it could just be as simple as just swapping out the MLP side of the MOE. I don't know. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's all speculation. Okay. The last part that makes me uncomfortable about MOE debate is actually it's related to another paper that you wrote about the efficiency misnomer. In a sense that like now people are trying to make the debate all about the active parameters rather than total parameters. But it sounds like that's something that you're comfortable with. Like flops at inference is a relevant metric, and it's not that.
Well, thanks for like actually reading reading the papers.
I'm trying, man.
It's
very hard to It's very hard to. You have a lot of papers.
No, I'm actually very impressed that like you are bringing up these papers very.
Yeah, I'm using attention. Context.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
And also, I mean, I'm interested in efficiency that works. It's just very hard to find efficiency that works, and so like anything that helps me have high signal on efficiency is helpful.
So I think like for the efficiency misnomer, by the way, I love the paper, by the way. I had a fun time working on it. I think efficiency misnomer was like we found that like a lot of people like they use params, like especially like to kind of like, right, and then MOEs was not very hot like in the like community at that time, right? But MOEs were like a thing long ago at Google, right? So I think using active params, I'm comfortable with using active params to kind of approximate like cost of the model. But like in the efficiency misnomer paper, we actually made it quite clear that you should always like look holistically about like because like you have serving like additional serving costs. You fit like fitting in GPUs, like fitting on single node or something like that.
The interesting one was speed. And nobody really talks about speed, but your paper actually talks about speed.
I have something to say about speed, throughput, right?
Yeah.
There are so many methods, right, that are proposed about efficiency, right? They are like theoretically like faster because of some complexity or like something like that.
Okay.
But because there's no way to work around the implementation, or like your implementation becomes so hard, it becomes like 10x slower.
Okay.
There's so many papers
it's
around.
Not hardware aware.
Like it could be hard. It might not be. It could be hardware. It could be just the way that like you have a convenient way to like in his like in its mathematical form is actually like, okay, linear complexity, like whatever, and it's actually theoretically faster. But like just because you have to like do a scan or something like that, and then it becomes like actually like 10 times slower in practice, right? There are a lot of things like, not a lot, but like there are some things that are like some methods that are like this, where you don't take it into account throughput, right? Which is also the problem of like sometimes like the incentives of like people who working in efficiency. You can easily just like sell a paper as like more efficient, and then people will not suspect that because the reason why we wrote the paper is that so many people were confused about like efficiency itself, right?
Yes.
And then they will be like, okay, like a lot of these unsuspecting reviewers, especially like even academics, or they don't have like that real feeling. They were less like, okay, less parameters, more efficient, right? So you could have a method that's like less parameters but like 3 times slower, because a lot of times when you add things to the model, it becomes slow. Every time you add complexity, especially if it's like something that is not hardware optimized, no kernels, or like something that is like bad for TPUs or whatever, your model just becomes like slow.
Well, that's a temporary issue.
People can fix it, but some things are not like so. Like some things may not be like so easily fixed, or like it just adds a lot of like sui cost to optimize it, right, and everything, right? But then it's always marketed as like, because I save params, so I save right. And then also like the params will you add at different place of the model. Like for example, if let's say even in the case where you param match models, right? If I take out like some params from like FFN, right, and I put it to like embedding layer, right? Embedding layer is like it's a cheap operation for embedding layer, right? But my model becomes like lopsided, right? I could say I param match this, but it's not slot match. It's not throughput match, right?
Yeah.
Because
it's unbalanced.
It's unbalanced on the side, right? So there's a lot of this type of tricky things that when mixed model comparisons like very difficult, and because you cannot even put like flop throughput and speed, flop params and speed, like actual speed, right, in the same plot, right? And then there's always like one money shot in there's always like a Pareto like kind of compute like whatever plot, right? Like for marketing in papers or something like that, it's always very easy to like, I mean not intentionally, but like to subconsciously like show one story when it's actually like there's like all these other things to consider.
Yeah. It's a selection bias, self-bias, whatever. Very cool. Okay, well that was most of the technical side. We have one commentary that will happen today on the future of open source models. Basically, Founders Fund said like the future is closed source. You were agreeing with it, and a lot of the open source fanatics, are up in arms over this. I don't know if you care to comment about just
okay.
Open versus closed and closed whatever.
So I mean I don't really like when I mean like if you're referring to the tweet that I wrote, but I wrote something about
but
it.
This is huge. Like so many people are commenting about it because they are personally physically offended that open source cannot catch up.
Okay. So I want to say this, it's like I'm not like I contributed to open source in the past, so I'm not like against like open source per se, but I'm the interesting thing that I want to talk about here is that like there's a difference between like I draw a line with like like open source as in like, okay, to me Llama 3 is like, it's like Meta has an org that is like, okay, hypothetically very similar to like Gemini or something, but they just decide to release the weights, right?
Yeah, it's open weights.
Right, it's open weights, everything, right? I think when most people try to say that like open source is catching up everything, they kind of mean like this grassroots, like
the
like
distillation.
this bottom up people that are like these indie developers that are like coming together to like fight, like it's romanticized and it's dramatized to some extent to fight against like this.
Definitely is.
Right. And to be very fair, I think that there isn't really much like so far, if you just look at like the fractions of people, the big labs are just pushing and pushing and pushing. The academics like Stanford and stuff, they came out with DPO, they came out with things like that. They make some like, but they're kind of in between the line of like open source community and then there's also like the developers that are like fine tuning on GPT-4 distilled models and everything, right? So I think that like I think the open source, the underlying like thing about like collectively improving something, I'm not like criticizing it for the sake of criticizing it, but like I'm just saying that like in order to make progress, right, I think the incentives of open source are like, what I observe is that like people like to do things like they like to take somebody else's model, they rename it, and then they make a quick they make a quick win from that.
Yeah, I think we have to close up in the next 10 minutes. Yeah.
They'll make a quick like, and then like, but you notice that like when people realize that like this like turning on the GPT-4 tab and running some DPO is not going to give them the reward signal that they want anymore, right? Then all these variants gone, right? You know, there was this era where there's so many of these, like I lost track of this, like all these model variants, but now they're all gone because people realize that you cannot climb LMsys because you need something more than just something that is lightweight, right? So I think that was just my overall like.
Honestly, the Hugging Face leaderboard contributed to most of that. It's not LMsys.
No, I think LMsys is probably they realized that they could not.
Oh, yeah.
Right. The open LM leaderboard is like probably like a big like problem, to be honest. So
we're talking to Clementine in one of our future episodes. So
okay.
They dedicate a lot of. I mean, there's so much attention to them. It's a tough problem, but they're providing a public service for sure.
Yeah. I mean, good intentions are always good. I mean, good intentions are always good. Yeah.
Rather have them than not have them. That's what I'll put it. Okay. To cut short on time. I'm interested in like just career-wise. What is your productivity practice? And so I'll split it into three things: keeping up, like reading papers and whatever, and the outside world, and then 2, like how you organize your own work, and then 3, like work and life. Just any take that in any order that you wish.
I don't have much of a life actually, but I am trying more to have more.
I mean, you're a father now, and
I have a baby now, so like I'm trying more to have more life, and everything like this. Productivity wise, I would say that like I think the productivity hack that I have is just like I didn't have like a boundary between my life and my work, like for a long time. So I think I just cared a lot about working most of the time. Actually, for the last like doing my PhD, at Google and everything, I'll be just like working all the time. It's not like the most healthy thing like ever. But I think that was actually like one of the biggest like productivity. And I spend like I like to spend a lot of time like writing code. And I just enjoy running experiments, writing code and stuff like that, right? So you kind of, if you enjoy something, it's not work, right? So like it's very strange. It's like I would get distracted by like sometimes I have to watch some Netflix series because like my wife asked me to like watch it, like or somebody tells me that like one like I'm back on time on some shows, right? But then I get distracted by my experiments running and I just end up like writing code instead of like
wow.
so things like this. It's not the most healthy thing, but I think that's one.
I'm looking for like a practice where like okay. So Andre recently had a thing where like when he wakes up, he doesn't look at social media. He only goes straight to work.
Damn, I check Twitter the moment I wake
I know,
up.
see, like, which is something I do as well. But I'm like, damn, that's a smart rule. And like, I'm looking for like rules like that. Like, do you have a
No,
rule?
he doesn't check social media because his phone is exploding all the time.
All the time, yeah, I'm sure.
Right? I don't have so many likes and followers, so like it's fine for me.
Yeah, you get there. But like rules like that, mantras that you've developed for yourself, where you're like, okay, I must do this. So, for example, recently for me, I've been trying to run my life on calendar for a long time, and I found that the only way that I work is I write things down on pen and paper, and I cross them off individually, and like that physical action really helps me get things sorted. And that's work wise. Reading wise, I don't know if you know, but I've been running this like AI newsletter that like auto summarizes all Twitter, Reddit, Discords, and all that. So that helps me keep up because I have like a socially graded and I personally vetted the entire pipeline from beginning to end. So like this is my input algorithm. I know how to keep up with news because I now have a information condenser. So like what I'm trying to figure out, what's your algorithm or what's your rules for
I got
keeping
something.
up?
I got something. So for keeping up, so I used to check archive like every morning when the gate opens. I just check archive. I will wake up 9:30 a.m. Singapore time. The archive gate opens, right? And then I'll be very sad if there's no papers to read. But you usually just pick one paper or two papers that you find interesting. I don't read them. I just like skim like the thing, right?
Yeah.
So I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. I mean, ever since like I in the startup, I
you have a real job now.
I read less papers, right? But I used to camp at the door of archive, quite frequently just to see.
That's not a good use of time. I'll come on and say it. That's not a good use of time.
No.
It's a newness bias. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just because like I ran out of things to
I see, yeah.
It's just that like the new stuff comes out, right?
Yeah.
Like and like the new stuff comes out, right? So that's how I keep up to date to like.
So in the space of 3 years, you read every.
No, I didn't read everything. It's
AI,
just that. It's just that.
NLP.
But these days I realize I don't have to do that anymore, just because if the paper is important enough, Twitter will show it to me.
Sure.
Right. So that's true, right? So you actually don't have to follow anything. If the paper is important enough, the Twitter algorithm will give it to you.
Yeah.
So there isn't really like. And one thing I do is that I actually don't read papers like that that much anymore. I just like skim them, like almost, right. So that's for keeping up like with papers, research, and everything. And the other thing, more of like just like a productivity point of view, is that I used to always keep like the text, like the overleaf or like whatever you call, like for like I usually start writing the thing while working on that thing itself. Like so, like, even like let's say like if you want to launch something, like then the end goal is like a blog post or shipping something, everything, right? I like, or not really a launch, or like just papers, or I always like to look at it from like what's the story and the end, and then I just like figure out what I need to do to get to kind of, right. So I think for as a researcher, like this is something like I would have like so many drafts of like when I start the project, I don't know the experiments yet, everything, right? But I like to imagine like what the title will be, right? And then I always vibe check, like I always like, so I mean my friends at Google will know that I always have like the overleaf a draft of like so many, and then I will just spend time looking at it, like looking at the title, is it better 2 seconds? Like, so I used to care about a lot of things, but this actually helped like productive, because every time I look at it, I'm like, okay, this is the final product. I'm like working towards it, right? Because I think a lot of researchers they tend to like they swirl around in the experiments and they never like ship the final story. It's like the shipping, I mean, as startup we ship products, but like as a researcher, the product,
like product management, yeah.
You're shipping the thing. So I like to hang around a lot in my drafts, and you know, like I get motivated from that, and that's like one productivity thing that I did as a researcher, and yeah. So I think that's other than that, I don't really have any like I don't really have any like things that I do that probably different from others. Yeah.
You don't know it. This is unconscious competence versus.
Okay.
Okay. We probably have to 3 more questions. What do you use to strongly believe that you've changed your mind on?
Whoa. I was not prepared for this question. Let's skip. I don't have like a good answer for this.
Okay. I've reserved the Singapore questions to the end.
Yeah.
What's it like? Just NTU PhD. You know, just the story of like, how is it coming out from NTU, which is like a good school, but like not typical target school for like a big lab.
I did my PhD unknowingly. Like I didn't have very, like when I was a very regular undergrad. I had decent grades, but not the best grades. I was not like super smart in school or something like that. I wanted to do a PhD just because I was like curious and I mean like and then I wanted to stay in Singapore at the time, so I just like naturally just did a PhD there. I didn't even vet my advisor. I didn't even think too much. I just like fell into the PhD program, and then that was when I realized that actually I can do research. Like I'm like pretty decent at research. Like I just fell into the PhD like unknowingly.
Yeah.
I definitely like NTU leaves a lot to be desired. Actually, to be honest, I think that Singapore leaves a lot to be desired in general. Like the research community here is like probably not great. I've also.
So how did you like break out? You know, like if I was you, I would have no idea how to break onto the international scene. And
I think it was okay. To be honest, like in retrospect, it's a bit of a miracle, or like I mean it's not easy to. I think I could not. If I had like someone to mentor, I probably could not replicate like the same. Like I could not like tell somebody how to replicate the same thing that I did. It's much easier now, maybe compared to in the past. But like actually maybe that one I may not be very sure about that. But I think like I've been mostly self-supervised during my PhD. Like my advisor was basically like Grammarly. Like a free paid plan of Grammarly. He wouldn't watch this, so it's fine. But like, I've learned like as in there's a lot of things that it was like this strange arc of my life where I was figuring out research by myself and everything and okay, maybe going back to the like
change your opinion.
The change your opinion is that like the biggest culture shock I had like when like was moving from Singapore PhD to Google. I think my research like taste.
Which you went straight to Mountain View, is it?
Yeah, I went to Mountain. I started at Mountain View. Like my research taste and everything. Like I was in constant like it was a culture like my book like it was so different. Like the research culture is so different in US and in Asia that I had to grow so much like during my time at Google to like actually evolve. And then whenever I come back, right, I still have friends in like faculty in here and everything. They would either think that I'm a snob, or they think that I'm like being a very nasty person. Because like, I think to be honest, the research here is like in Singapore is just basically like they just care about publishing papers and stuff like that. And then it's not like impact driven. I think at US is mostly focused on impact driven, and the thing needs to make real impact, right? So is this shift like I guess?
And well, to be fair, you're also working in an industrial lab versus an academic circle, right? Like you're comparing apples and oranges here a little bit.
I know. I mean, at the end of the day, I think research is fundamentally as an industry RS, you still write papers. Your goal is to advance science and everything. To be honest, is all the the incentives rewards system is like different. And maybe like slightly different everything, but like at the end of the day, I still feel that researchers are researchers, scientists are scientists, no matter like really like where you are. I will get so much dissonance when I come back and I talk to people. Like I will feel like, oh, why do you think like this? But then I used to think like this. So like the environment shapes like a way a researcher thinks. The taste is very important. The environment you're like very important. I feel like sometimes I try to communicate this to people, and then maybe I come across as a snob to like the local community here, right? But like it's just that there's so much dense information that I want to bring back, but like there's no like
receptiveness,
fast way to like transfer like all the transfer all the things that I've learned.
Yeah.
I got also a big culture shock because I was in brain in the Singapore office for a while, and I'm reporting to
you're the only brain person.
Yeah, in brain in Singapore, and then I had like I took on an intern from NUS actually, and the research like vibes and the thing was so much of a conflict for me that it was almost like my body was rejecting it, but this person so like grew and became like I'm happy with how this person grew from my mentorship. So he's now in a way better situation. But I would say that like a lot of people in universities here are like not like a bit like ignorance is bliss, right? Maybe sometimes.
Well, no, it's exposure. I didn't know any better myself until I went to the US for college, and then yeah, my world was expanded, and it's a little bit of a Pandora's box, because once you've tasted that, you're never happy. And,
yeah.
You know, yeah. So okay, last question would be just a sort of Singapore question. So what I like to be visibly non-American, covering the AI scene, because it's very US centric. Every non-American I talk to always wants to be like, how can we build Silicon Valley in my city? You know, my country, my city, whatever. That is, it's not Silicon Valley. I feel like you have basically just kind of like me. You kind of operate in the US circles, but you just don't live there. Do you have any advice for like, if Singapore? Okay, so I'm wearing the race shirt today. This is this official Singapore government's sort of community group that is trying to guide Singapore AI policy. If we want 100 more ETs to come out, what should we be? What should governments be doing? What should communities, ecosystems should be doing?
So I actually think that like sometimes like not doing too much is maybe less is more. Maybe I don't think there's actually much like the government can do to like influence. Like this kind of thing is like a natural, organic natural thing, right? The worst thing to do is probably like to create create a lot of artificial things that like
exchange programs.
Okay, I mean Singapore used to have a lot of exchange programs. Like they send people to
NOC
to I mean just talking about AI specifically, right? I think that like for example, like sometimes like trying to do like too much or like moving in the wrong direction is just better than not moving at all. Especially if you accelerate in the wrong direction, you actually get into a worse state than possible, right?
Sure.
So I think it's very dangerous to like move in a bad like direction. I think respect your talent more. Maybe the government should just respect the talent more. And like I don't know whether this is too much of a
no.
But not maybe not like moving in a wrong direction is to me is already a very good thing. So like I think that's my take is that like and yeah I've seen on yeah I think that's basically like the overall you need to like ask me specific things because you need to prompt engineer me a bit.
Funding for startups, incubation, getting holding academic conferences. I think iClear next year is going to be in Singapore, so people come here and exposed to it. But like, I don't know. It's very interesting. Like, everyone wants to build up AI expertise within their own country, and like, there's a massive brain drain to the US. I'm part of that. Like, I live there. I feel guilty, and I don't see any other way around it. It's such a huge problem, and I also do think that there is like cultural hegemony. Let's call it like US values basically being asserted on the whole world, right? Like because we decide RLHF on these models, and now you shall use all our models. And it's just troubling for like national sovereignty should be AI sovereignty, and I don't know how to achieve it for people. It's very scary.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, this is not technical, but I was just curious because obviously like so we can make this the ending conversation, which is I think you have like you're inspiration to a lot of other people who want to follow your career path, and I'm really glad that we got the chance to gonna walk through your career a bit, and yeah, I'm sure this is just the start. So hopefully that's there's more to come, and I want to inspire more of you.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Yeah,